Well, for me, the greatest guitarist of all time, Hank Marvin. Of course, I think everybody knows that particular tune, Apache from the Shadows. Now, I'm very, very pleased and honoured, in fact, to welcome to the studio two fabulous guitarists, Hank Marvin and Gary Taylor. Very good afternoon to you both, and thank you so much for coming in. It's brilliant.
Hi, Mike.
Hello, Mark. Great pleasure.
This is Hank speaking, and that was Gary.
This is me.
This is me speaking.
Now, I think I've got it right, because one of you wears glasses and one doesn't, so I should be... Oh, no, here we go. Here we go. Gary's put the glasses on as well. Do people still listen to Shadows music?
Apparently, yes.
They do?
Yes, I don't personally.
Now, do you actually miss those days where the pressure was on you all the time to produce or whatever?
Not really. It's. I think as you go through life, Mike, you go through phases in life, don't you? Different stages of your life, and you move on to something else. We were involved with the Shads, or I was, certainly from basically the end of 1958 right through on and off until we did the last Cliff and the Shads world tour a few years ago. And then, of course, I toured with my own band in Europe and the UK. And they were fun days. We had great times, a lot of success. And we also had some not very good times within the band. We get problems. Wherever you have several guys together, ultimately you'll have problems.
Yes, of course.
There's always someone who's a pain in the butt. And not me.
I was going to say, Hank did not look at Gary at that time. No.
That's my job.
Well, you know better than I do. Yes, I couldn't say I miss those days. I enjoy them, but I also enjoy the moment. Being here with you, Mike, is I tell you, it's a dream. Or is it a nightmare, Gary?
Was the pressure on, once you'd had that enormous number one, that the record label or your managers wanted you to produce more and more, put your pressure on?
Well, there's naturally a pressure that follows having a hit record, because obviously as you said, the record company wants you to try to follow it up. They're in the business of trying to sell records, and as artists, you yourself as a singer or a group in our case, we naturally wanted to try to follow it up. So there's that, wow, we've made a breakthrough, had a hit record, and a huge one. So you have to look for material, either write it or sift through material that people have sent in to try to choose the right vehicle for the band. And that pressure, as you say, is there. And when you get the next hit, it's, whew, what a relief, you've got another one. And you know it has to stop sometime, but you don't want it to stop just yet.
Yeah. Was it, I read somewhere that Apache, written by Jerry Lorden, of course, was initially offered to Burt Whedon. I mean, I know he did record it, and he didn't release it until after your fabulous disc. But was it initially offered to him?
Yes, it was. It was. In fact, when we first heard Apache, Jerry sang it to Jet Harris and myself, and he had a ukulele, and that's how he used to compose songs. He'd have them in his head, and he'd work out the chords on the ukulele, and so he basically sang Apache to us, and we thought, what a wonderful piece of music. And we said, look, we'd love to record this. And he said, I just have to mention one thing to you. Burt Whedon has already recorded it. He said about 6 months ago, but they're not doing anything with it. He said it's a terrible version, and they're not going to release it. So we felt a little more comfortable then. And as you said, once we released ours, Decca, I think it was, released Burt's version.
But yeah, I was going to say, it didn't go anywhere, did it? I can remember his, what is it, play guitar in a day, wasn't it, or something?
Indeed. I'm still trying.
I had a friend who bought that particular course, and I don't think he even found out which end to blow down. It was one of those.
Funnily enough, on tour once with my band, one of the fans came to the front of the stage and got my attention. It was one of those concert hall type things where you can get very close to the audience, and they offered me something, and it was Burt Whedon's Play in a Day. I thought that was brilliant. The audience loved it.
Oh dear. But of course now your style has changed. I'm looking for an early one of yours, but now your style has changed completely, and you've moved with Gary, of course, into the sort of gypsy jazz thing.
Yes.
How did that come about? Why did that come about?
I think when it first sort of the seeds were sown, I recorded an album called Guitar Player, which was an acoustic album. And that came about because some fans had suggested I do such a thing because I was using acoustic guitar sometimes on stage. And even on some of my recordings then I was maybe featuring an acoustic guitar solo in the middle of the electric treatment, so just to get a color change, sound change. And following that, we decided to do such an album. And Gary, in fact, played on the album, but despite that, it worked. And it was a really successful album for me in the UK and Europe. And around that time, I started re-listening to Django Reinhardt, who was the basis of Gypsy jazz. He was a French Gypsy guitarist, a wonderful musician, known for working with Stefan Grappelli most of the time. And we started to listen to that, Gary and I, and thought, hey, let's try to learn a few of these tunes. And we started kicking around for fun, didn't we, in the studio?
Yeah, for a long time, in fact, for several years before we actually got a band.
Man and Boy.
Man and Boy. Well, because you've been working together, Man and Boy, for quite some time, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, with the Gypsy stuff since about 2002.
And before that,
before that, since about 1994, with maybe half a dozen albums that I've been involved.
Some of the albums like Hank Plays Holly, Hank Plays Cliff, Marvin movies, all those ones. Gary's playing, sometimes played bass and sometimes rhythm guitar. He's never quite sure, which way to go.
Perhaps you'd introduce this one, because I know you've introduced it before with the words slightly changed.
Oh, the Guitar Concerto by Rodriguez. It's the slow movement, yes. And I think, Gary well knows the movie. Was it called Brassed Off?
Brassed Off, yes.
No, Gary can say it beautifully.
What, orange juice?
Yes.
Orange juice.
Orange juice.
He couldn't say orange juice. He said orange juice.
Yes.
It's a beautiful piece of music which I did my best to murder, as you'll hear.
Ah, here we are. Fabulous bit of music. It's so nice to hear a piece of music being played. I'm perhaps being rude to a lot of other musicians, but some musicians play music and some musicians feel music. And to me, as a listener, there's a difference. I don't know how it is in your guys' terms, because you being musicians. But sometimes as a listener, I feel as I listen to it, the heart isn't in it somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
It's a feel thing. It's hard to describe, isn't it? It's very hard to describe.
It is, and I know what you mean. Sometimes you get the feeling they might have a lot of technique in their playing skills, but there's something missing, and that is the heart, the feel, and it's an intangible thing, really.
Yeah.
It's hard to teach. I know that. I mean, I do the odd guitar lesson from time to time.
He's been trying to teach me for years.
Well, there you go.
And it's not good.
I rest my case.
You're going downhill. Now, Neil from Girraween wants to know whether or not you've ever recorded Bolero, Hank.
No. Ravel's Bolero.
Yes.
No, I haven't.
No.
He didn't record any of mine, so I won't record anything.
That's fair enough. That's fair. You can't ask for fairer than that, can you? So Mozart and Bach is out of the question.
Actually, we have done a Mozart piece.
Have you?
Yeah, it's based on a clarinet concerto by Mozart, and I'm just trying to think. Mozart 40 was the title that was used.
Oh, right.
I think Giorgio Moroder, the record producer, did a version of it, and we thought it would make sense if we did too.
And you got some advice once from one of those Beatles. His name, George something or other?
George Harrybum.
That's the very guy. He didn't say don't give up your day job, did he? But he gave you some advice, didn't he?
Yeah, it's quite interesting. We'd known the guys from when they first came on the scene with their first record. We all recorded at Abbey Road Studios. And one day, we just had a big hit with a song called Don't Make My Baby Blue. Not an instrumental, a song. And George came in, he said, I love the record, Hank. He said, tell you what, he said, stop releasing instrumentals as singles and do more vocals. And we didn't listen to him. What did he know? But the thing, I think it was very good advice. We should have really gone that way at the time, but we thought, now we'll go back to the instrumentals and try to be different.
Now, we've got tracked up, it'll be Me Babe. I've also got on this very disc, Don't Make My Baby Blue. Which one are we going to hear first?
First, let's hear, I haven't heard It'll Be Me Babe for years. I wrote this with John Farrar, who, Australian lad from Melbourne, was with Marvin, Welch and Farrar when Bruce and John myself had a little group, and he went on to produce Olivia Newton-John and wrote great songs like You're the One That I Want, Hopelessly Devoted, etc., etc. Written some cracking songs.
While I remember that, we were talking about people that have been in the group, the Hawk says, would I please pass on my best wishes
in Alan Hawkshaw?
Yes, indeed.
The Hawk.
I was chatting to him by email, and he said, if you do meet Hank, tell him that he still owes. No. Let's go to this particular song. So, tell us a little bit about that particular track, Hank.
Well, John Farrar and myself wrote this song a long time ago, probably in the 70s, and I can't remember. In fact, it's just John and myself on this one, or if it's the Shads. I can't remember. It's so long ago. And you are?
Yeah, that's right. Mary.
Quite contrary.
Yeah.
I like it.
Let's go to the Saturday dance. We start now, we won't be late, 'cause the dance don't start till round about 8. What do you mean you're going to bed? Come to the dance with me instead. Go upstairs, put your glad rags on, join me, hon, and we'll have some fun. Jump into my hot rod car, drive away your frown. Then we'll jive, become alive, and really do the time. What do you mean you're going to bed? Come to the dance with me instead. Go upstairs, put your glad rags on, and join me, hon, and we'll have some fun. Jive, become alive, and really do the time. Come on, baby, give me a chance. Let's go to the Saturday dance. We start now, we won't be late, 'cause the dance don't stop till round about 8.
That was a very early one, wasn't it?
Yes, Saturday Dance. That was the release, I think 1959, that we had before Apache. That's when we couldn't decide whether to play instrumentals or do vocals, and you can see we made the right choice by doing instrumentals.
And that was actually by the group called the Drifters, wasn't
the Drifters,
it?
yeah. Before we changed our name to the Shadows in summer of 1959, in fact.
I think it's probably your latest CD, isn't it? The Hank Marvin Gypsy Jazz CD.
Not strictly speaking.
No?
It is the last Gypsy CD. In fact, the only one we've released at the moment. But I did have another album, a conventional album last year, which was a top 10 hit in the UK, and that was just simply called Hank.
I have it, yes, of course. Yep. And what are we going to hear from that particular CD? Then I'll put it on.
Do you want something up tempo or down?
It's entirely your choice.
Well, Django's
I'm not allowed to make decisions.
Gary likes Django's Castle.
He does.
Right, that's what it'll be.
Which is the
then.
title of the album, in fact.
Yeah, okay, that's what we'll do. I've seen you perform that live 3 times now, twice in the Ellington, if I remember rightly, and once in Frio, and I you know that the audience enjoy it, but sitting in amongst the audience, I can hear all the people saying, "Oh, that was lovely, wasn't it, Vera? Oh, it was."
Oh, you sat next to Vera.
Sorry?
You sat next to Vera.
Do you know her?
Yes.
Oh dear. But that's and it's totally different. Is it different to play? Is it the technique? 'Cause I don't know anything about playing guitars.
It is different from playing the Strat. When I play the Strat, I like to use the whammy bar to help me to get sustain and dip notes and little tricks with it and so forth. And of course, with an electric guitar, usually the action's a little lower. That's the height of string above the neck, the fingerboard. So from that standpoint, it can be a little easier to play than the Gypsy guitars, which are slightly longer scale, a longer neck, and the action's a bit higher. So the way you have to approach it to get something out of it is quite different. And when I do get something out of it, I'll let you know.
Do you enjoy it though? Because
Yes.
when sitting in the audience, I get the feeling that you're enjoying what you're doing. And I think if any guy that is doing something, I enjoy what I'm doing. And I think if you're doing something you enjoy what you're doing, you're on a winner.
Without a doubt, yes. Yes, we do enjoy it, don't we, Gary?
We do. And we put a lot of time into it as well. Over the last year or so, well, not so much over the last 6 months or so, but up until the last tour of New Zealand, we would get together twice a week at least and play for hours and hours and hours and hours to get it right and for the sheer enjoyment of it. It's good fun.
Yeah.
It's really good fun.
Yeah, it's a challenge. It's a kind of music which is from a guitar standpoint a challenge, really, isn't it?
It is.
For a number of, certainly from the soloing point of view, because you have to improvise and you have to try to improve your technique in order to get to grips with this form of music. And from every standpoint, I suppose
it's quite difficult, isn't it? When we first started with this particular genre, it was difficult. Couldn't really do it to start with, or I couldn't. Anyway.
No, we were failing dismally, but we persevered. We stuck to it, mate.
I'm going to play a track now for you to make a sort of a comment on at the end to see really what you think of this particular track, because with the experience and background that you have, your judgment of this is going to be worthwhile. It really is. It really is. So I think you should back announce this one, Gary, for goodness sake.
It was called Isle of Capri.
And
And
remember, on Jukebox Jury, David Jacobs used to say to the jury, well, do you think that'll be a hit and a miss? And the answer, Hank, would...
It's a miss.
It's a... There we are.
I have to say that I have heard this before, by the way, Mike. It's Gary's album, and it's beautifully played. And it gets back to what we said before, this good feeling.
The feeling. Yeah, absolutely.
Nice phrasing, good feeling, which surprises me, to be honest.
very much. It's very good.
Yeah. If only he could be so good when he plays with the Gypsy Jazz Quartet, isn't it? I mean, that's...
I know. In fact, on my next album, I might let him play all the parts and I'll just sit back and watch.
Let me say a very, very big thank you to you both for coming in today. It's meant a lot to me, and I'm sure to all our listeners. And I thank you very, very, very much. I'll see if I can wake them up.
It's been a pleasure, Mike. Thanks.
Now we're gonna the one you've chosen to play you out today, Hank, is. You've forgotten it already.
No, not at all. No, it's the theme from The Deer Hunter, the movie, and we had a huge hit with this in Europe, the Shads. And I remember one specific occasion, '89. Cliff and the Shads did the Wembley Stadium, a couple of nights there, and we had this rocking audience, and we did a couple of rocking tunes, and then I introduced this number, and I thought, this is going to go not very well, But I'll tell you what, everything went stunningly quiet, and just watching people gently sway and listen to this music, it actually literally moved me to tears as I was playing it.
Right, we'll sway gently to it now, and thank you again both very, very much.
Thanks, Mike.